All right, welcome back to the show where we have real conversations and bold ideas. I'm your host, Keston Rodriguez, and today we have Matthew Branscum with us.
Hi.
He's a soldier, husband, father, leader of junior soldiers. He worked with peers and superiors in the military for over 10 years now. Matthew, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here, Keston. Appreciate it. Thank you for the invite.
So we'll go through a little bit of we'll ask you some questions today, get a little bit of background on who you are,
Sure.
what you're about. So hopefully we can get to know who you are, right? So growing up, what was life like for you?
So I grew up in a kind of a fundamentalist Christian church. It was a very unique experience. Had a kind of a selectively sheltered life, if you will. I was more sheltered than some people that I knew and less sheltered than others that I knew, if you will. There was a lot of things that I wasn't allowed to do growing up, but there was a lot of things that I did that other kids weren't allowed to do. Right? Like I played certain video games or watched certain movies or whatever that they would probably, if people in the church that I grew up in found out, would be like, "Oh, that's not cool. I can't believe you did that." Which is honestly one of the reasons why later on in life, when I became an adult, my wife and I, Rachel, we ended up leaving because we both grew up in the same church, just different states, and it was definitely a unique experience as far as like growing up in that church and everything. I mean, you could almost throw the word around cultish, right? And I don't necessarily, want to dive into the deep dive of the definition of all that, but nonetheless, it was a very unique upbringing, or at least
Before you get into
for those
that,
people that yeah.
Before you get into that, so you grew up in, do you have siblings?
Mm-hmm.
How many siblings do you have?
So I got two sisters, and I have a brother who passed away whenever I was little.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
So you grew up with, so you're with a family of five?
Well, four kids and my parents.
And your parents?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and your parents are still married and
Yeah.
stuff? Okay. So you grew up in a traditional home with your family and stuff? Okay.
Sure.
And where were you born?
I was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and raised everywhere else.
All right, so let's get into raise everywhere else. What was that journey? Walk us through that journey where you were raised and where you moved around to.
Okay, yeah. So like I said, I was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is where my parents. They don't live in Tulsa, but a suburb of Tulsa now, where they live now. They own their home and everything. So my dad was a pastor in that church I was talking about, and so he had a particular skill for handling churches with issues, whether it was financial or family squabbles and whatnot. And so because of that, he would get appointed to a church. He would take care of that issue, whatever issues they had going on, and then we would get appointed somewhere else. And so because of that, I lived in 5 different states, 10 different cities, and moved 13 times before my 18th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's a lot of movement. So again, with military life, right?
Yeah, I'm slow. This is slow.
Okay, so you're used to the moving and stuff. Okay.
I'm an expert at moving. I can pack my own truck and I can do it very well.
What are some memories you can take away from moving before your 18th birthday? What were you like in high school?
Well, I was actually homeschooled my entire upbringing. So.
Okay.
So.
What was that like?
It was self-paced pretty much throughout the majority of it. Like once I learned how to read and everything, and my parents were there if I had questions and whatnot. But typically, I would just be in the curriculum and doing my thing in the books and everything. When I turned 16, I started working, and before now, right? Before I developed my keen sense of responsibility and time management, I was not very good at managing school and work.
Okay.
So I ended up school kind of phased out for like when I was 16, 17.
So your entire life you went to homeschool. You were homeschooled. So you don't know what it feels like to be in a traditional school system where the bell rings.
Yeah, nothing like that. Which I was the only one of my 4 siblings that didn't go to public school at all.
Are you the first or the last? Where are you?
I'm the youngest.
Okay, so you're the youngest.
Yeah, I'm the baby of the family, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So when you got into like working and stuff, like, so you started working before you graduated, so you had to manage both what your schoolwork and going to work, being homeschooled?
Yeah.
Wow. So in a sense, I look at it as like, that's not really structured, but now you join the military where you get structured.
Oh yeah, very structured.
Okay. So all right, after you graduated high school from homeschool, what was next for you?
So I didn't actually end up finishing high school. I ended up going back later, a couple years later, for my GED, and which was I was a little rough around the edges. So I went to the Adult Learning Center and everything. Got myself refreshed on a couple of the concepts, and took it and aced it. Apparently, I didn't realize until I did actually did a high school or a GED graduation. And they're like, "Oh yeah, you're Matthew. Here you go. Here's your tassel and everything." And they're like, "Oh, the reason why yours is red and black is because you got yours with honors." And I was like, "Oh, no, I had no idea. I just took it and passed. I didn't realize there was a GED with honors." But yeah.
So so you didn't get a traditional high school graduation and certificate and stuff, or diploma.
Yeah.
You went and do your GED.
Yeah.
Okay. So. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's talk about what led you into joining the military.
Yeah. So, fast forward a couple of years, right? I, was heavily invested in my church and everything, and through a series of events, which I won't go into fully because it's just a lot of time. But my sister was living in the state of Kentucky. She had got married. And her and her husband had got appointed over the camping ministries for the youth camp out there in Kentucky, in that region. And so she invited me to go out there and be the assistant worship leader and be in charge of fun time. So I played the piano and sang and then was in charge of fun time. During that camp, I met what is now my wife. Because of that, and the reason why that ties into my military service is, fast forward 11 months, right? Quick, right? I was preparing myself for the Army, get married quick right after you meet somebody, right? But so 11 months after I met my wife, we ended up getting married, right? So then fast forward a few more months, right? And we're struggling, hard times financially, eating sleep for dinner. And $20 a month for groceries, kind of thing, and just really struggling to get by. I'm a little bit of a prideful person as far as like I don't really want to go out there and beg for help. Asked for help a couple of times, and it was typically like, "Hey, here's $50. Just make sure you pay me back on payday," which was definitely demotivational to say the least. But I was just like, I got to do something. So there I was. I was working in a grocery store in the deli. And I was putting rotisserie chickens on a skewer to bake them, right?
This is Kentucky, right?
This is Oklahoma. I was living in
Oklahoma. Oh, in Oklahoma? Okay.
So there I am, and I'm doing my thing, and I was just like, I've got to do something. And it occurred to me, I was like, one of my coworkers, right? Her son is in the Army. I've never once had any desire whatsoever. I've been approached by multiple recruiters. Hey, you want to join the Marine Corps? You want to join the Air Force? You want to join the Navy? You want to join the Army? No. I don't want to do that. I never want to do that, right? And then I was just like, I wonder. So I was like, hey, my coworker, I was like, hey, Jill, what's like? Can I talk to your son? I'm interested in the Army, right? And so fast forward. like a month later, I was on my way to basic training, right? So I was just like, I talked to him. He put me in contact with his recruiter right up the road from me. Talked to my wife. At first she was really hesitant. She was like, "You're just kind of like ramrodding me here. Like this is completely derailing everything, right?" But fast forward now, coming up on 9 years of service, and every time re-enlistment window comes around, my wife is like, "Why are you even asking me? Like, absolutely, you're going to re-enlist, right?"
Okay.
So she's definitely on board. It's been one of the greatest things that's happened to my family, and here we are. I've got a little 3-year-old coming up on four in October, and life is great. I mean, it's not perfect, but hey, it's I owe it to God, and for everything that the effort I've put in and the support around me, right?
What is one story you have so far in the Army that in your career right now that you would like to share, that you'd be like, someone new who is watching and they want to join the service, they'll be like, damn, that story is inspiring? You have any story like that?
Well, not long after I joined, right? I joined in 2016, graduated AIT in 2017. Immediately went to Kuwait. Like as soon as I got to my first unit at Fort Hood in 2017 in March, June 1st, I was boots on the ground in Kuwait, right? Camp Buehring, and which was definitely an experience in and of itself, but the community and the bonds you build over there are, it's remarkable. Fast forward a couple of months after I get back, right, I went on a TDY mission, temporary duty mission up to Detroit to help write the technical manual for the M2A4 Bradley. And when I got back, the day I was supposed to get back, I actually came back early. The day I was supposed to come back, I was at the motor pool and we had got an engine in. And right then and there, for an M88, we're splitting the pack, taking the engine off the transmission, and as fate would have it, the bell housing of the transmission broke with me underneath the engine. The engine fell down on me, and here I am, just a PFC, haven't even been in a whole year yet in the Army, or well, at least a year in ForceCom, right? This is 2018, and everything just like went black for like a second, right? This 10,000 pound engine catches me in the shoulder, bends me over forward, my shoulders touch my knees, and then I just start screaming, right? Once my brain wakes up and says, hey, you're fine. So I broke my back in 2 places and herniated a disc in my neck. And that sounds demotivational, but what I will say is it was kind of a defining moment for me. I realized just how strong the community was that I was in, right? Being at the hospital and experiencing, I'm a near-death experience. I very narrowly, if I would have been over just a couple of inches to the left, I would have been pinned underneath that engine and probably would have not been here to have this conversation with you.
Right.
And just the support and the care that I saw from my peers, my battle buddies, my NCOs, all the way up to my sergeant major. I mean, just a few months later, whenever I was a specialist going to the promotion board, he asked me, like, the first question, and the only question actually, which is a story for another time, but if we had time to get into it, but he asked me one question.
No, you can get into it. You can talk about it.
He asked me, he's like, are you bouncing back, Branscum? Right? Because he knew that I had just come off a dead man profile. I was on profile for 6 months, and funny enough, right? Good old Sergeant Major Floyd. He retired now, but he hit me with that question, and I was just like, absolutely, Sergeant Major. I'm dedicated, motivated, fit to fight, and ready to burn. Because that was his little mantra he would spiel out every Monday morning at formation. Dedicated, motivated, fit to fight, and ready to burn. And I said that to him. He's like, man, get out of here. You're promotable. But, I digress a little bit. But, that whole experience right there, just seeing how I had that support, I was like, man, this is a brotherhood and a community you can't buy, right? There is no community that I've ever encountered that was just quite that strong. Sure, I have some bad experiences. Everybody's got bad experiences, and one of the things that I would say, for like a young soldier or somebody trying to join the military is, if you sit there and you say, well, I'm not going to join the military because people have bad experiences. Absolutely. You know what? I also had really bad experiences when I was working in the civilian world for 7 years. I had horrible managers. I had horrible peers that I worked with. You're going to have those things, and that's regardless of whether you're in the military or you're just working in the civilian world. Right?
What make you make that? What was like that really defining moment where you say, I'm going down to the recruiting office to join?
Well, one of the I mean, I guess it was just kind of a culmination of building up of things. Like I said, I was sitting there putting those rotisserie chickens on, and I'll vividly remember that particular moment.
So you felt like you needed to do more?
I need something, because I had tried a couple of odd jobs to supplement my income working at the grocery store. I went through the licensing process to get my insurance license to sell insurance, and I worked at a company for a few weeks doing that, and I was just like, I can't do cold calls. I cannot do cold calls. So that didn't take off, and then I went through the process. My uncle fronted me the money, and I went through the process to get my real estate license. I got my real estate license out there in Oklahoma and did that for about 3 months, and I made nothing but a lot of debt, because it's expensive getting started. Even though I was working in a group where I could sit on their open houses to try and sell and everything, nothing ever took, and sales just not my bit. And so here I was, trying to do 2 jobs, couldn't get anything to take off. All I needed was 1 sale in real estate, and I would have been fine to breathe for a little bit longer. But that moment right there, just in the deli, putting those rotisserie chickens on there, I was just like, I have got to do something. I have to take care of my family, and just that responsibility, because I've always, ever since I was a kid, my mindset was, whenever I grow up and I have my own wife and I have my own family, I don't want my wife to have to work unless she wants to work.
Okay.
And at that moment, my wife was working, I was working, and had she not been working, we would have been homeless, right? We would have been on the streets, or living with my parents, or living with somebody. And that has always been a driving, motivating factor for me, right? I love my parents. Both of my sisters have had their fair share of hardship in life, and have moved out. They've had their marriages and everything, and they've had to move back in with my parents due to hard times for this, that, or the other. I pride myself on the fact that I've never once had to darken those doors of, hey, I need a place to stay. I don't have a place to live. I pride myself on that, because just as a man, I can't help but think, like, I define myself on my success of how well I can take care of my family. And that's my driving, motivating factor for my military service. That's my motivating factor for everything I do, right? I'm always hustling, trying to figure out some new way to set my family up for success in the future, which my most recent endeavor in that is applying to become a warrant officer, right? And so
we'll get into that in a little bit. But before we go there, so like, okay, so you joined the military. Like, what was that process like? Like, so did you choose your MOS, or your MOS was chosen for you? What was some options? Like, can you take us through like a really rapid timeline of like what that process was? You at the recruiting office, and what that timeline looks like for our audience, because there's someone out there right now want to join, and they may hear how the process was for you so they can have some insight. Yeah. Can you share some insight into that?
Yeah, so it was a really rapid process for me in the first place, actually. So, like I said, it was kind of just out of nowhere. Brainworm just popped up and said, "Hey, what about the Army?" And it wasn't even a consideration for me to do any other branch. Like, that never crossed my mind. Like, hey, do Air Force, do Marine Corps, do the Navy. Never once was I like, let me see my options. It was always the Army, which, call it serendipity, call it whatever you want, but I found out several years later that there was no way I could have joined any of the others anyway, because at the time, the only branch accepting people with a GED only was the Army. So, okay. So here I was, a perfect fit accidentally. But I called up to the recruiter and I scheduled a meeting for Wednesday on a Monday. And like I said, my wife was a little bit resistant at first. So on like a Tuesday morning, we're having a conversation about it. And it turned into a little bit of a spat. And I was just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going down to the recruiter's office right now. I had a meeting the next day, but I was like, I'm going now. Went down there and I talked to him. Good old Staff Sergeant Daniel Barba. I'll never forget him. Right, his desk was right there, first thing in the El Waso office there in Oklahoma. And walked in. I was like, hey, we have a meeting tomorrow, but I really want to talk to you today. And so, kind of skipping all the little details of all the conversation. Basically, we went through the process of the paperwork that day, right? We called my wife. He was just like, listen, I'm not gonna enlist you in the Army unless I have your wife's support. Like, you are a team. You guys are gonna both be serving in some capacity, right? You're gonna be the soldier, but she's gonna be there supporting you while you're gone for 9 months. She's gonna be there supporting you while you're at schools, while you're doing this. So I want you to understand that y'all are both making a commitment for this decision. This is not something you should take lightly. So I was like, okay, I appreciate that feedback, right? So because of that, like, I was like, all right, well, we'll call my wife and, hey, what do you think? What's your opinion? Here's the details. Here's the nitty gritty of it. Here's what I'll be making starting out. Here's like basic housing allowance, right? Which was a huge selling point for me, because like rent was hard to come by sometimes. Some months it was a really big struggle for me to put that together outside the military. And so those were a lot of selling points. And I was like, hey, this is going to be an adventure for us, and I don't know where it's going to take us. But I think it'll be a good step for us. And my wife, thankfully, she trusted my judgment, and I ended up making the decision. And the next day, when I was supposed to have my appointment, took me down to MEPS. I took my ASVAB and scored really well. And I came back, and he's like, all right, here's what I want you to do. He gave me a list of every MOS in the military, or in the Army, excuse me. And he's like, pick your top 10. He's just like, you have high enough scores, you can do anything you want. He's like, but based on availability, we'll see what's available, right? Because this is toward the end of the fiscal year, so a lot of jobs were closed and not shipping soon. Because I did tell him, I was like, hey, I need to get out of here as quick as possible. What's the fastest way to get in? So this was early to mid-August of 2016, and I was like, okay, so I want to leave soon. He's like, all right, well, pick your top 10. My number one choice, and avert your ears, 91 Mikes, was 91 Alpha, actually, Abrams mechanic. Interesting. I didn't actually choose 91 Mike at first, right? But to be a Bradley mechanic. But I told him, I was like, yeah, this. I was like, if there's absolutely nothing available, absolutely nothing else, right, I'll do infantry if I have to. But I really don't want to do infantry. I wasn't doing this, and there's a slew of reasons to join the military, and commitment to country, and wanting to serve in capacity of where you're out there, stacking bodies and doing all that stuff. By all means, there's nothing wrong with that, and you do what motivates you, right? But I was just like, I'm doing this for my family, and I want to come home to my family as much as possible, right? So I was just like, I really don't want to do infantry unless I absolutely have to, right? But I need to get out of here. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, well, 91 Alpha is not available. And he pointed to the other side of the recruiting office. He's like, that guy just took the last slot.
Oh, for real?
Man, okay. Well, what else is there? He's like, well, there's 91 Mike, which, you know, Santa Barbara, listen, man, this is a slap in the face, 91 Mike's, all right? But he's just like, well, 91 Mike is the same thing. You still work on tanks. Bradley is not a tank, okay? It's not a tank. It's armored personnel carrier. We know this. But, you know, nonetheless, he's like, hey, you know, you can do 91 Mike. It's basically the same thing. He showed me this cool high-speed video, driving around and shooting and moving and all that stuff. I was like, okay, cool, I'll do that. Right, so he scheduled me up, and 2 weeks later, I was headed out to go to MEPS to do the little inspection and all that stuff, and then move on. Right. So yeah.
Good stuff.
Went to MEPS and got on a plane for the first time in my life ever on September 12th.
Wow. Day after 9/11.
Missed it by a day. But that was 2016, so different day.
That's good stuff. It's good stuff. So you told us about your reason for joining, right? Mm-hmm. And that journey to get in there and finally going to talk to a recruiter and making that big decision to join the Army. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about now your time in the Army and your decision to go become a warrant officer. For the audience, like, what was that journey and what made you decide to become a warrant officer or apply to becoming a warrant officer within your field?
Yeah, so I mean, as I said, my motivation to join the military was, you know, to be able to take care of my family, put food on the table, and along with that same mindset, right, was to do that same thing, right, to choose to become choose to apply, I should say, to become a warrant officer, because I haven't been accepted yet, but, you know, fingers crossed. I feel pretty confident my September warrant officer packet will get approved. So again, with that, like, it is not the whole reason, but a good part of the reason is that there is a bit of a compensation difference there. It's a good pay increase. So if you're interested in doing something like that, you can. It's available for anybody. Matter of fact, if you're interested in flight, in flying, you can join the Army as a warrant officer and immediately start making that money from day one. But nonetheless, so the money was definitely one of the motivating factors. But also, just like, I enjoy my job as a maintainer and a logistician. And so maintenance logistics and maintenance management is something I'm very passionate about. And how I'll grandstand and stand on a milk crate and sit there and be like, hey guys, maintenance, I love it, right? And the processes and all that stuff. So that was kind of one of the motivating factors, because that as a non-commissioned officer, right, I get to do that, but it's not my dedicated job, right? You and I both know as NCOs, right, we have to also manage people. And, you know, getting that call, hey, Sergeant Branscum, why is so-and-so, you know, why do you get a DUI on the weekend? I'm like, I don't know, First Sergeant, I wasn't there with them, you know, I'm not going to babysit these guys 24/7. And so that whole, you know, crap rolls downhill kind of situation, where it's just like, hey, it's my responsibility that someone did something stupid on the weekend. It takes a mental load, right? Because I care vehemently about my soldiers and about soldiers in general, and I want to take care of them and make sure they have that good opportunity. But having that responsibility directly for them, it takes a piece of me. Because it's a lot of effort to make sure that I'm doing right by them. As a warrant officer, you kind of take a step back and you can have more of a mentorship role towards soldiers, rather than like, hey, I'm responsible for why did you do this on the weekend? Hey, all that kind of stuff, right? So that was one of the other motivating factors, and a big motivating factor. In fact, I'd say the defining moment that made me say, I'm going to, come hell or high water, become a warrant officer. I was sitting in the conference room at my company out there in Fort Irwin, California, at 19:30 at night. For those of you who don't know military time, 7:30 at night. Right, it's been 2.5 hours since I let my guys off, and I'm still at work, waiting on my first sergeant to get back from a meeting with Sergeant Major, so we can talk about personnel and some other issues and whatnot that were coming up. And I was just sitting there staring at the table, at the conference room table, waiting for him to come back. And I was just like, man, I was in a position for a sergeant first class as a sergeant, which, if you don't know, there's sergeant, staff sergeant, and then sergeant first class. And so I was doing a sergeant first class job as a sergeant. And I got to thinking, I was like, man, I'm really going to get promoted to staff sergeant, and I'm going to be doing this same exact thing. And I was like, and then I'm going to get promoted to sergeant first class, and I'm going to be doing this same exact thing. I was like, the next 7 to 8 years of my career in the military are going to look identical to this. And for me at that moment, because my son had just been born not too many months before that, and I was just like, do I really want to do this for the next 8 years? I still want to serve my country. I still want to have that opportunity and go see the world and do great things, right? But it just, I was like, I don't want to do this part, the personnel aspect, the being the platoon sergeant, being the team chief, being the one who's that part right there was just, it took a mental toll on me. And I was like, I need to do something different. What I want to do is just my job as a maintainer and a maintenance logistician.
So you wanted to do the technical part. So exactly. Because you understand the technical part, you really, that would drive you to decide to make that journey and that transition over to the warrant officer side. I think your future looks bright with that. So to help the audience understand the process. So there is a process to becoming a warrant officer, and in your field, it's the maintenance field, right? So you're a 91 mic, right? A Bradley Fighting Vehicle Systems maintainer. So this new MOS for the new field for Chief Warrant Officer is a track vehicle warrant officer, right? So it's what, 915 Tango, right? Yeah. So 915 Tango is a track vehicle warrant officer. This new field just started and it's being implemented. So if anyone who's currently serving in the Army and within the maintenance field, the track maintenance field, they can definitely look into this warrant officer field or cohort. All right. I hope in your journey that works out for you. I believe you're super talented. You have the credentials. Your work ethic shows a lot, and I think the Army will definitely have a super solid warrant officer in you when your application go to the board. So let's transition, because now we know you have the little golf fit going on, right? Like, so tell us about what got you into golfing. Like, you know, tell us about golfing and your work-life balance with golfing. How does that work out for you?
So it's definitely a difficult balance because I could get lost in it, because it's not just a appreciation. It's kind of an addiction. Okay. But I love golf. I don't know. I've always had like an interest in it, but I've never. I don't know, for whatever reason, mentally just had this mental block of like, oh, that's not for me though. So there I was, 2023 on PCS leave, permanent change of station. I had 2 months off, and I had nothing to do with my time. And I did two things during PCS leave. I started college and started golf. And I had been talking about it off and on. I'm like, man, I think I might want to try golf. And I'm staying with my wife and I. We were staying with my mother-in-law, and we were over at her brother's house working on my car. He used to be a mechanic for a big name company, and my mother-in-law was just like, well, Junior, you I see those clubs in there. You got some golf clubs. Like, what are you doing with those? And she said, well, Matthew, you've been talking about golf a lot lately. Much to my wife's chagrin, she put me onto this, and long story short, I ended up buying that whole bag of clubs from him for $80, which started the whole process, right? So my wife's brother ended up taking me out. We went to the driving range. He started teaching me. He's just like, all right, here's how you hit a golf club. I'm like, dude, all I just do is swing the club and hit the ball, right? Boy, was I in for a rude awakening. Just how technical the game is. And that's one of the reasons why I have such a passion for it, is because it's like, it eludes me so much to be good at this.
So you're like,
I'm horrible at it, but it's so addicting, because every once in a while you hit that shot and it's just that high. You just get it. You're like, oh man, that was a great shot, and then you're searching for that feeling again.
So it always keeps you like always wanting to improve, like your skill set, right?
Oh yeah, it's very technical. Yeah,
that's good. So like you do it every weekend, or what is like your frequency when you golf?
Well, last golf season out here, I was like almost every weekend, right? That it wasn't pouring down rain, because last season was a really rainy season. This season, I've been a little bit slower. I took a break for about a month and a half. Because I went through a rough patch where I was just like, I don't know how to swing a golf club. It feels like, I couldn't hit anything to save my life. And just recently, actually last weekend, I think it was. Yeah, last weekend, I took my son out with me, actually, and golfed with a couple of guys.
Tell us how'd that go?
Oh, man. Well, first of all, he wasn't originally supposed to go with me, but he was throwing a fit. He's like, Daddy, I want to go. Right? He's 3. My parents got him a practice golf club for kids for his birthday or for Christmas or something last year, and so I was just like, all right, I'll throw it in my bag and I'll take you out there, right? I pulled up at the very last second, right before our tee time, and didn't even have a chance to put my golf shoes on. So I'm out there on the first tee box, and I was like, this is going to be such a stressful experience. I'm going to have him running around, worry about him on my backswing, all this stuff. But it ended up being either my little good luck charm, or he just got me out of my head because I was paying attention to him. So I actually played my best golf round ever. I shot under 100 for real this time, and which is pretty good accomplishment. I think something like 20% of amateur golfers never break, or only 20% ever break 100. So glad to be a part of that 20%. But nonetheless, like, it ended up being such an awesome experience, just being out there, right? It was just me and him in the golf cart, and then my buddies out there in the other golf cart, and like, I would just drive around, have my arm around him, holding on to him, because like those things, they kind of jolt a little bit, the carts do, and snacks and juice and all that good stuff, right? Just nice. Balancing parenting and golf at the same time. And I think I've kind of put him onto it. I think he's only 3. He's 3. He was out there and he was swinging the club around and everything, and I'd like, here's your ball, here's your tee, buddy, and we'd go onto the tee box, and he'd put the tee in the ground, put his ball on there, and take a swing at it. It didn't go anywhere by any means, but he was having a blast, right? We'd get up on the putting green, and I'd put a ball down there. I'm like, all right, knock it in there, buddy. Put it in there, and he'd knock it into the hole and everything. So I think I've got myself a little golfing buddy.
Hell yeah! So you're gonna have your golfing buddy there.
Hell yeah!
So before we wrap it up, right? I know I appreciate that story. Before we wrap it up, like, what would you say for someone deciding to join the military? Like, what would you say to them? Like, what would your perspective, like, shine some light on some of the positive stuff that we have done as leaders, that would be like, yeah, I really want to do this. What would your thoughts be?
I think in a word, if you want to challenge yourself, right? If you want to do great things that are bigger than yourself, right? Or if you just want a steady paycheck, a secure paycheck, and to get away from home, if you want to see the world, or see a different part of the country, right? Join the military, right? And and I can't really put it in any more succinctly than that. Like, there is so much opportunity joining the military and being in the Army, right? I have met people from all over the world, right, serving in the military, and the civilians that I encountered whenever because I was in Kuwait. I've been to Korea, and met the locals there, and it had those experiences, and those are things that I would have never experienced, right? I've seen Shannon, Ireland. I've seen Germany. I've seen Alaska. I've never been to Alaska until I joined the military. I'd never been on a plane until I joined the military, right?
Wow.
And so, like, those are experiences that, right, by and large, like the Army will foots the bill for most of it, because they're like, hey, we need you over there. All right, cool, get me there. And those are experiences that I would have never gotten had I not joined the military. Is the pay going to make you a millionaire? No. But you can most certainly say that the time and the community that you build in the military is more valuable, honestly, than just the money that you make doing the job. It's not just about money, right? And while that was my motivating factor in the beginning, I stay not because of the money, right? I stay because of the people. I stay because of the community. I stay because of the opportunities. I stay because of just it's a wonderful community of people that you meet those people that you're just like, wow, like, you have a story to tell. I mean, here we are.
Yeah, we all have a story to tell, right?
We all have a story to tell, and you meet some of the most amazing people in your military service, and I mean, people you really would never meet or know unless you serve. And I think that's one of the most brilliant things about being in the military, being in the Army, is just the experiences and the people. And if you're interested in doing and challenging yourself, the Army will be as hard or as easy as you want, right? If you want to join and just collect a paycheck and just do your 9 to 5, and which, I mean, it's not really a 9 to 5, but do whatever the mission says. If you want to just do enough to get to make it, you're going to get paid, and you're going to do your thing, and you can do that for 3 years, you can do that for 20 years, right? You can do that for longer, depending on if you get promoted, right? Or if you want to do things that you are like, hey, how much can I do with my body? What are the limits of what I can do? You can do that too, right? You want to go be special forces. You want to go jump out of planes. You want to, rappel out of helicopters. Whatever you want to do, right? The Army has something for you, and it's every kind of challenge you can possibly imagine. And I think that's remarkable, honestly. And so if anybody's out there trying to join, or if you want to challenge yourself to something that will really set you apart from all the knuckleheads maybe that you might be hanging about with from high school, make a difference. Make a difference in your life and be a part of something bigger than yourself.
Thank you. So you talked about where you grew up. You talked a little bit about your faith and what that was like growing up. You talked about that process of actually going down there to talk to your recruiter to join, and the journey leading up to that. You talked about your spouse. You talked about golf, and also that experience with your son. Yeah. You talked about your warrant officer application and the journey, and you definitely let our audience know, if they are interested in joining the military, why they should join. I want to say thank you for coming on and taking your time to have a conversation with us and enlighten us on the journey so far. Really appreciate that on behalf of myself and our team. We really appreciate you.
Absolutely.
All right.
It's been a pleasure, Justin.
All right. Until next time, I hope you come back again, okay?
Yeah, this is
all right.
pleasure.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.